Yep, I'm here. I can hear you.
Yep. Can you say that again? Make sure I can hear you. I can barely hear you. Apologize.
Okay. It's green, but maybe.
And it doesn't make any difference how you tapped.
I think that's working there. Okay.
There we go. I think that's better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll get started with this commission meeting, and we will start the meeting with a prayer reading or thought. Glenn Tanner will give us that, and then after that, Rod Mann will lead us in the pledge.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're indeed grateful for the opportunity to join as a community today in this beautiful building and for the opportunity we have to counsel and look for ways to better our community. We pray that Thy Spirit will allow us to be respectful of one another, to be patient and understanding, and that we might be able to listen and be able to respect one another's opinions and thoughts. And this we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Glenn.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rod. Okay. First item today is our recognition of the June Employee of the Month. Let's see here. I'm not sure if this person would rather I not. However, I believe that this person is worthy and deserves it. So this is it's always fun to read these nominating letters and introduce our Employee of the Month. This individual is from the Sheriff's Department, and it's Deputy Kyle Curtis. So Kyle, if you Did you know? Did you have any idea?
I had an idea.
Yeah. Okay. He's a good investigator. He's good at his job. Well, let me read some nice things about you, and this is certainly one of the better parts of our job. So, thank you for allowing us to embarrass you a little bit. So, again, the Sergeant Nick Friedrichsen, he obviously goes on to say all these things, and some of the highlights that I have on here is that he's worked with Kyle for several years. He's observed that you're consistently looking for ways to improve yourself, teammates, and the sheriff's office and other departments. Kyle's constantly looking for ways to get training for deputies and other departments on search and seizure, officer-involved critical incidents, peer support, and much more. Kyle takes each of his roles very seriously and has worked hard to find ways to improve in each of them, the biggest of which was the idea for patrol training on searching and hostage rescue. Due to Kyle's seeing a need in patrol countywide, he created a class to help not only his own department, but all departments throughout the county. He spent countless hours recognizing key training needs to put this school together. Due to his time on SWAT and with the help of other SWAT team members, he has created a class that helps address the worst situations any cop can respond to. With the creation of this school, he will be helping countless of patrolmen be able to effectively respond to any hostage situation. That was from Sergeant King. Kyle has gone as far into putting together a large presentation to be given to Post so that it can be recognized as Post-certified training. Though I know there are several who have put in numerous hours planning, Deputy Matt Cunningham as another big participant. It was Kyle's brainchild, and he has ran headlong into the battle to get it approved. And the last paragraph, Kyle wears another hat, and that is president of the Utah County Lodge 31 of the Fraternal Order of Police. I would normally not bring this into the nomination, however, with the recent tragedy in Santaquin, Utah, the murder of Sergeant Bill Hooser, I believe Kyle went above and beyond. Kyle spent numerous hours in Santaquin while off duty, volunteering his time and talents for the officers of Santaquin Police Department. Kyle was quick to offer peer support to those officers during this difficult time. Kyle worked tirelessly to make sure the officers had food, places to gather, access to support, and a shoulder to lean on. Kyle was there to assist Santaquin PD with working through some of the benefits forms that allow the family of a fallen brother to receive assistance. Kyle also helped put together a dinner for friends, officers, and family after the graveside service. This and many other reasons is the reasons we are nominating and believe Kyle Curtis is fitting to receive this award. So, congratulations. Nicole, did you have the packet and such? We'll get that to you.
Just,
And you want a picture of just us two? Okay. What do you say? I don't blame you for wanting to decline, but I mean, if there's like any pictures on the wall at home that you want to replace this one with,
I think this is against my department policy.
Oh.
How about I get your shoes?
That's fine.
Thank you.
You want to say anything? You've
Nope,
got the
We're
open mic.
good. We are good.
Okay, thanks again.
I wish I was there. This is well beyond deserving. I appreciate everything you've been doing. You and the teammates are just incredible. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that. We have a work session today, a presentation by the Utah County Sheriff's Office Victim Services Program. And so, do you have a presentation and such that we have? Okay. All right, looks like Wade's got you all set up. So if you'll come to the microphone and tell us your name, rank, and serial number, we'll get you on the record. And then
My serial number?
it was a terrible joke.
It's definitely
Sorry.
expired, so. My name's Lauren Davis. I am one of the victim advocates assigned to the Utah County Sheriff's Office Victim Services Program. So yeah, we're just gonna be going over a little bit of our numbers and the services we've administered since January. And we also administered a survey to gauge the satisfaction of the community we serve. But I did want to check how much time you want me to take. I wasn't aware.
How much would you need?
10, 15 minutes?
10 to 15 is great. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Okay, if you go to the next slide. Oh, I have it? Oh, the clicker, thanks. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, these are some of our numbers. The type of victim or incident that we worked with most often were domestic violence incidences. And that would be typically between intimate partners, but really between any cohabitant, so anyone living with their abuser. We had 98 incidents of that. We also had 15 victims who were victims several times. And so we want to take that into account. So yeah, those are the numbers of some of the things we've been doing since January. We've also seen an uptick in stalking. And stalking is really tricky because it's taking non-criminal behavior and it's making it criminal. So showing up at someone's work isn't necessarily illegal. Posting about them on Facebook, taking pictures of them, calling them a bunch of times, none of those things are technically illegal. But you're looking at a pattern of behavior and you're saying showing up at work and texting and taking pictures and blah, blah, blah. That is a pattern of behavior that is stalking. And we've seen a lot more of that this year as I was talking with my supervisor, which has been interesting. And a lot of it has been related to domestic violence, which is tricky. And so a lot of what we've done is stalking injunctions and protective orders. Victims doing those on their own can be really, really scary because if they don't use the correct legal jargon or if they show up without an attorney or do something wrong, the consequences of doing a protective order or stalking injunction on their own are like permanent and can cause severe issues to their safety. So we do hands-on a lot of that, and those take a lot of time. And yeah, so we've been doing a lot of that. These are the services that we have logged in our system. And I will say we we used all of our emergency funds. We used every last dime, and we just got $600 more to carry us over till the end of our fiscal year in July. And so we're trying to make that last. I will say just last night I was called out twice and we used more of that. So we probably have like $200 or $400 left. But we want to tell you what that money's going towards. Emergency funds. For example, last night on the call I had, one of the victims was beat and strangled and locked out of her home. She didn't have her wallet, her phone, or her keys, and she had no clothes on. She was on her period, sadly, and did not have any tampons or anything like that, and she had no shoes. So I got called out, and thankfully we have funds to get her all of those things. We got her clothing, we got her a hotel, and then this morning I went back and drove her from the hotel back to her house. We're able to get deputies with me to get that unlocked. And now we're getting her security cameras. So security cameras we will be covering and installing tomorrow, and then also getting her locks changed. So those are some of the things that emergency funds go toward. And you'll see as I give this presentation some of the other things that our emergency funds cover. So you can see information and referrals, the bulk of what we do, just educating victims on these are your rights. These are what's going to happen in your case. You can expect this in court on Monday. Personal advocacy, that's like a lot of different things, but a lot of it could be DCFS, helping them with immigration assistance, helping them get food and things like that, signing them up for government assistance, emotional support, and then safety services is kind of what I went over with emergency funds and jumping in. And honestly, I can't even tell you because every case is so different. And then lastly, criminal and civil justice system assistance, that's like court dates. I attended court for victims yesterday and ended up arguing with the defense attorney yesterday for a while in court. So really, like, our jobs have so many hats. We do so many different things. It's a really fun job. I shouldn't say that because it's not fun to be working with people in these really tragic situations, but every day is different and the work we do is really important. And we wanted to do a survey. One of the things that we pride ourselves on at the Sheriff's Office is we want to offer the highest, the most best practice, I don't know a better way to say that, services. We want to make sure that we're offering really high quality services to victims in Utah County. And so we did a survey to see where we're at. And I administered this survey to just specifically victims I had worked with in the last 90 days. So these victims have a criminal case open. They have been identified by law enforcement as a victim of a crime, and they have cooperated with law enforcement within the last 90 days. Well, and then you can see I administered this between March 19th and April 15th. I had 9 questions total, and we'll go over the results of them. So the good news is out of the 29, so I reached out to, I think, like 50 victims that I had worked with, and we got 29 responses. Out of the 29, you can see the good news is the vast majority, so 24 out of the 29 victims surveyed said that they were very satisfied with victim services. And the good news with that is that carries over to the sheriff's office. That doesn't just make the victim services look good, that makes law enforcement and the sheriff's office and the county look good. These victims are saying, we were taken care of. So this builds rapport with law enforcement, with the sheriff's office, and honestly the prosecutor's office as well. Victims are feeling supported and taken care of. So I just wanted to read a few of the things that they said. So we had 2 people who said they were satisfied, 4 said, that they were somewhat satisfied, 3 said that they were very satisfied, and then 24 said they were like very super satisfied. So one of the things that they wrote, one of the victims wrote, said, I finally felt like my experience was validated and I was educated on what I was experiencing, which was so important. I had never heard the information and the dynamics of abuse in that way before. I wish everyone could hear this to prevent situations like mine from occurring. I felt understood and not judged, especially as I learned these new things and made decisions in my case that were best for me and my kids. And so that was one I just wanted to highlight. And then I wanted to highlight 2 responses from the people who were less than very, very satisfied. One of the people who rated us a 4 rather than a 5, she said, I felt like I got the runaround at the beginning, but we had a phone call to figure it out, and then I felt like I trusted her. And then someone who scored us a 3, so somewhat satisfied, said, I felt sometimes I didn't have enough time to talk on the phone when needed. Sadly, we only have so many work hours in the day, but we want to include some of those responses too. Okay, so here are some of our where we have room for improvement. So on the survey, this was how informed and educated on the criminal justice steps did you feel? And we got 9 people saying very satisfied, 11 saying satisfied, 7 saying somewhat satisfied, and 2 saying not satisfied. So we want all 5s, and we were sad to see that we did not get all 5s. So this is where we want to improve. And basically what we learned from this is a lot of victims weren't understanding what exact steps were going to be happening next in their case. We've learned that's really hard because every case is so different. If there's an arrest, this many things could happen. If there's not an arrest, this many things can happen. And so it's hard to explain that to someone in trauma brain. So we have work to do, but one of the things that we've done is Aranza over here created a flow chart, kind of like a graphic to give to victims. It's very basic, but it gives some insight to our criminal justice system and the steps that are going to be happening. And then if that doesn't go according to the way, the flow chart says, that's when we'll jump in and do some further education. Another thing we want to improve on is court updates. There's not a ton we can do because that's going to require like an entire system revamp, but a lot of victims wanted more advance notice of what was happening in their court cases. Sadly, the way defense attorneys and prosecutors work is typically the day or 2 before a court hearing is going to happen is when they deal with it, and that's when we update them. So we would love to change this, but I don't know realistically if there's a ton we can do, other than continue to update victims when they do have court hearings, and then update them after the court hearings about what occurred. And we attend court for our victims. A lot of times we talk for them, advocate for them in court. So you can kind of see if you guys want to read some of these on the screen, but yeah, I probably won't go through and read each of them. The last thing that I feel we are doing really good on is 22 out of the 29 victims surveyed gave us a 5 for just having an overall good experience. And again, this reflects on the county, on the sheriff's office, not just as victim services, which I'm really happy about. So you can kind of see some of the responses. I'm going to share maybe one of them. I'll read the third one down. This is a woman who said, I was going to get written up for work for missing work, and my victim advocate wrote a letter and talked to my manager, and it all got sorted out, and it was even better than to begin with. Also spent hours helping me get my civil PO, which was incredible because it was so overwhelming. I'm so glad I didn't have to do that alone. So yeah, a lot of this is a victim missing work because of a crime, or a victim needing a letter for school, or we will have to contact landlords and things like that. And yeah, we just pride ourselves on doing the best we can there. I'm going to read some of these other things victims have said. One victim said, I wish every city had systems like this. Anytime I have a question or need emotional support, I know I can reach out. I was able to make a safety plan and learn so much about how dangerous stalking is. I had no idea how serious it is. I felt like all the years of stalking was never taken seriously before, so how would I have known? Understanding the severity is life-saving, and I'm so grateful I was finally taught it. They're grateful for victim services. Having someone sit in court with me made all the difference. Connecting me to get free clothing and childcare with Family Haven was a game changer. Having someone interpreting the violation hearings or violation of a protective order has been wonderful. Some of the other patterns that we noticed in this survey was victims. There were several victims who had mentioned when a crime happens, there are many, many people calling them and contacting them. We have victim coordinators from the prosecutor's office, the prosecutor themselves, deputies or detectives, victim services, which is us, DCFS, sometimes adult protective services. There's a million different systems contacting them, and they mentioned it would be easier to have that all streamlined through the advocate. And that was one thing that we noticed. Another thing that we noticed is a lot of victims mentioned that they wish they had learned what we educated them on prior. So several victims said, I wish this was being taught more often in schools and communities, because I'm hearing all this domestic violence or sexual assault education after it already happened from my advocate. So another thing that we want to do is we want to more proactively teach prevention courses. So we've created a PowerPoint. We're hopefully going to go to church functions and school functions and whatever else. We've also created a domestic violence education pamphlet we're going to start sending out. And then just maybe focusing on social media more. Other victims said, I would have proactively reached out to the victim services for help instead of waiting till a crime occurred and having a deputy show up and then getting connected. So we'd love for more people experiencing abuse to proactively contact us. And so we want our agency, victim services, to be more visible. So you can see people are happy that their locks are changed, happy security cameras are bought, happy we're attending court for them so they don't have to. We set up therapy appointments. We get therapy covered so they don't have to pay for it. We help with a lot of things. Okay, so kind of like I talked about, here is our domestic violence education pamphlet. We've made it virtual so that we can be more proactive with that. And then here's our criminal justice flow chart we've made to kind of go over the next steps that are going to happen when a crime has been committed. And so, yeah. The other thing I want to add is We've gone over a lot of the numbers of the things that we have done, but one thing that we don't ever have numbers for are the crimes that we have prevented. And as you guys know, if there's a gun involved in a domestic violence incident, the risk of homicide goes up by 500%. A lot of times when we work with these victims, the first thing we say is, let's get that confiscated. Let's have the deputies take it for safekeeping, or let's have a family member hold it. And I have no idea how many homicides we prevented by doing that. Another one is when a victim leaves domestic violence, the 2 years following it, violence increases by 75%. So when we're helping a victim leave, we're also it's not like, okay, now our job's done. In fact, that's when our job really starts, is when they leave. Typically, violence increases by 75% over the next 2 years. Navigating that with an advocate probably prevents a ton of other violence as well. And so I'm just grateful for the funding and the support from the Utah County Sheriff's Office that we've had in helping these victims, because I'm sure it's saved lives, and we just don't have a ton of numbers or statistics on the crimes we've prevented. So I just wanted to take the last 5 minutes or so for any questions. I feel like every time we teach, we just talk and then we end, and then a ton of people come up to us afterward and say, I wanted to ask this, or I want to know this. And so does anyone have any questions?
My first question was, we often in law enforcement, we track calls of service, perhaps, for a deputy a day. So do you do the same for how many?
We do.
I didn't do the math on your first slide and saying,
Yeah.
we can probably back into that number, but do you use something similar to?
Yes, we have. It's called, it's like a nationwide tracking system. It's called VS tracking. And we track all the services we provide, but it's specific to victim advocates. So I think for law enforcement, they have something called Spillman, and they probably have other things that they use that are easier to track. This is just specific to victim services. I'm not sure how public it is. So that's a good question I'll have to look into. But yeah, we do track, not necessarily how many calls we get, because county will get a lot of calls from other jurisdictions, or then we'll just refer them to their advocate in that jurisdiction. But however many that have a police report with the county, we log. So yeah, really good question.
Yeah, I can only imagine, hearing you say that you've built this flow chart to help these individuals. Like, how is that not something that's already been, created? And so I
Yeah.
just compliment you on
Thank you.
being very innovative and doing such a tremendous job. I know it's a very much needed thing that we have. I know Sheriff has been very supportive, and so if there's something the commission can do as well, as you're maybe perhaps teaching classes or anything, we would certainly, I'll volunteer the commissioners to be willing to step in and help you however we can with any of that training and or communication. So
But no, we would love that. Any way to get the word out, educate. I feel like educating the public is great prevention. So yeah, we'll have to touch base on that because that would be wonderful.
And is this slides, is this something you could email to the commissioners?
Yes,
So
we
that-
actually have it already created. We would love feedback.
Okay, terrific.
So yeah, that's definitely something that we can do. So yeah, thank you. Good question.
Commissioner Gardner or Sakovic, do you have any questions?
No questions, but very well done presentation. Thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
None for me, thank you.
Okay, terrific. We really
Okay.
appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate yours as well.
You bet. Okay, moving on to build our consent agenda. I'd like to hold item 3 that's on consent. Any items from those first?
No additional from me. No, I just number 3 was the only one I had as well.
Okay.
None from me.
Okay. And then on the regular agenda, items 1 through 9, I was wanting to at least get clarification on items 3, 4, 5, 6. They kind of all blend together. And so we'll hold those. And then Ralph will give us a little bit of update on that. Item 9 as well. Any others from you, Commissioner?
None from me.
Okay. Items 10 through 14. I believe we're looking to strike item 13.
That's correct.
Okay. So strike item 13. Hold any others, Commissioners?
I'd like to highlight 14, but I'm hoping that Brandon Chambers or Ralph can do it, because the more I talk, the more I cough.
Gotcha. Good call. Any from you, Commissioner Sakovic?
Nope, this should do it.
Okay. And we will strike all closed sessions today, 15, 16, 17, and 18.
Okay, consent agenda, hold number 3. On the regular agenda, we have hold 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, strike 13, hold 14, and as for closed meetings, we will strike as stated, 15, 16, 17, and 18.
Terrific. Thank you, Helene. Okay. Bert, do you want to address item 3 for us, please? Just give us some clarity. Main reason for holding it was just felt like it was a big enough item to maybe not have on consent. I think I've had a conversation with you, but if you'll just give us some clarity.
So Bert Garfield, County Assessor. So we have appraisers that are out in the field a lot, measuring all the new structures that are being built. They drive their own vehicles. They don't use county vehicles. They're at construction sites. They don't really drive around that much once they get to a subdivision. They'll be sitting in their car taking notes, letting the car idle while they keep cool or warm, depending on the time of year. So the standard mileage rate, I don't think fairly compensated for them, the wear and tear on their car, their personal vehicle. Now we're not advocating to use county vehicles. They particularly like using their own car. They don't want the hassle of coming in and trading their cars to get a county vehicle so they can go out and do their work. So I talked to the finance department and asked if we could somehow calculate some sort of calculation for the wear and tear on their personal vehicles. as they really don't drive that many miles, given how much they do in the course of a day. So just the simple mileage rate I didn't feel it fairly compensate them. So working with the finance department, we're proposing that they give an additional amount for the mileage they get of 22 cents a mile on top of the standard IRS rate when they're doing field work. Now, if one of our employees was to go to a training class or go to a conference or something like that, they would use the standard mileage rate. It's only when they're doing the work that's field work for the assessor's office. Also, a proposal was to compensate them for damage on their vehicles as they drive around. These sites have a lot of nails and screws on the road, and they hit things and for repairs that they have to make on their cars. I don't know if there's a way to use the county insurance policy for insuring their vehicles while they're on the job instead of using their personal insurance. I guess that's a discussion item, but I think it may be the simplest thing is we just allot a certain amount of our budget to compensate for repairs that they have to make on their personal vehicles. The other alternative, I think, is we make them drive county vehicles, but I don't think the county particularly wants 20 more vehicles in the, 15, 20 more vehicles in the fleet to maintain and buy and everything like that. And they don't particularly want them either. They just want to drive their own cars. So with working with the finance department, that's what we came up with. The budget projections are in the memo and the attachment. It'll be paid for this year for using unused salaries because we have so many unfilled jobs in the assessor's office. But going next year, we would fund it through the typical budgeting process.
Any questions from the commissioners on the phone?
None from me.
My main question is just that we didn't necessarily get one solution. Like, you gave a lot of suggestions, but I didn't necessarily hear what the ultimate ask is.
I don't know if I heard her very well, but I think she said what the ultimate cost was.
No, what she's saying is you gave some different solutions, but what was the ultimate?
The ultimate proposal.
So the proposal.
So we would have two different mileage rates for people that work in the assessor's office. When they're doing field work, be a different rate, which is 22 cents more per mile than the standard rate, plus any repairs that they have on the job. So it would be a total of whatever, 66. So what did I write that down? 22 cents plus the 66. So it's basically 88 cents and 88.5 cents per mile when doing field work.
Any other questions, Commissioner Gardner?
Yeah, I'm wondering, is there any precedent for this type of, is there like anyone else that does, 22 cents per mile, excuse me, seems a little bit high if we're also looking at doing repairs as well. And how often are repairs happening? I would like more time to look at this and maybe ask some more questions. Is it okay if we delay this to the next commission meeting and then I can ask those questions before we agree to increasing the potential financial liability for the county? But I also want to make sure that our employees' costs are covered.
Whatever we need
you
to
okay
do.
with 2 weeks, Bert? I have some insurance questions that you brought up, because that,
I should probably open up a can of.
because obviously, that is something that, in a former life when I had a vehicle allowance, I received X amount of dollars per month. It was like $900 a month. And then I had a gas card.
Yeah.
Well, that got me tires and nails in my tires because it was a construction job. And so, and if that was nearly 20 years ago, I would imagine it would be, maybe we're under evaluating some of these things like you bring up, and I want to make sure we get it right as well. But
Yeah, and
So would I just wait for you to
and
contact
same.
me?
I mean, same with mine, right? I mean, was in my previous life, I put 100,000 miles a year on a car, traveling all over the Western U.S. and Western Canada, going to mines and construction sites. So I would like to see but that once again was about a decade ago. So
well, and with that
I would love,
Caterpillar,
I would love a chance to look at this and
Caterpillar probably required
so
you to
I-
carry higher insurance limits, right?
Yeah. Yep. They absolutely did. And then, and then the stipend covered any additional maintenance or repairs or whatever. But I would love to see what other people are doing and just make sure we're bringing it in line and compensating our employees fairly, but not necessarily overpaying them. So if we can get I would make a motion that we can push this onto the next agenda, and then let's look at those options and make sure we're doing what's there.
So would you contact me in the meantime and discuss this, or are we going to discuss this more in the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I would contact you and get any questions answered, and then we would put it on the next agenda.
I do know I've checked with most assessors' offices throughout the state. Most assessors' offices provide their appraisers vehicles. So it's not common for people to use their personal vehicles. So it's a lot cheaper though if we use our.
Okay.
Yeah, we can also put out, a question over NACO and see if there's any other counties in the nation if we don't have others in the state. But yeah, I'll reach out to you in the next couple of days and I'll think of a list of questions and then so I'll make a motion to continue this to the next agenda, next meeting.
And that's the 19th.
Okay.
Yeah, I can second that motion. Thank you for bringing that point up.
Okay, we have a motion to continue to June 19th and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks again, Bert. Okay, Ralph, do you want to just give us a sort of a rundown on this URS
Sure.
we're looking at?
Ralph Barnes, Human Resources. I'd like to start with item 5, if that's okay, because it kind of drives the whole discussion. So URS has raised the employee contributory amount for the Tier 2 hybrid system. And so any public safety employee in the Tier 2 hybrid system, there's an expectation that those employees need to pay a portion of the cost of the retirement plan. It does say in the plan for the hybrid, Tier 2 system, this is both on the public and the public safety side, that you are required to pay the amount, if any, of the certified contribution rate for the defined benefit portion that exceeds the employer 10% contribution rate. That's for the public system. It's 14% on the public safety system. As of July 1st, the contribution rate in the public system goes from 10 to 10.7, and in the public safety system, which I'm focusing on, it goes from 16.59 to 18.73. And again, the base rate, the employer's part, is 14% of the public safety part. So the question becomes, what, if anything, can and should the county contribute for the employee as part of the employee's piece of this? What is being proposed here is that Utah County contributes 4.03% of the 4.73 percent amount above the required employer rate. So in other words, technically by URS rules, public safety employees should be contributing 4.73% of their earnings as a share of their required contribution for their retirement if you're there in the Tier 2 hybrid system. Again, it only affects those employees in the Tier 2 hybrid system. And this has always been an expectation of these systems, whether employees realize it or not. This was something that was sure to come as costs increase, wages increase, and the economy changes. So there is this expectation. Now, interestingly enough, the legislature allows a county to make an election to, pick up some of the employee amount just on the public safety side. So again, on the public safety part, the county and what's on the agenda and what is being, proposed is that the county, pick up the vast majority, 4% or so, and the employee, picks up 0.7, percent, so less than 1%. So that is essentially what is happening here. The firefighter part is related but not related. We have been working for some time to get our firefighters out of the public system and into the firefighter system, which we all agree is the right thing to do for those employees. It just so happens the timing is the same. We need to get these done at the same time because of the schedule of URS and when they meet to approve such actions. So the moving of firefighters from the public system to the firefighter system is separate from the pickup, from the public safety pickup, but the pickup of the firefighter piece is the same issue, okay? Because we also have the opportunity, because they are part of public safety, to do the same 4.03 pickup for the firefighters. So that's how those come together. Let's see here. You had 3, 4, 5, and 6. Was there anything else?
No.
Okay, so I think I've addressed all those items. Are there any questions?
I'll start with the commissioners. Commissioner Gardner?
I have no questions. We reviewed this thoroughly, so thank you, Ralph.
Yes, no questions on my part. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate the explanation and all of the time behind the scenes that we have spent doing this. Many other organizations around the state are dealing with, or not dealing with. Some have chosen not to do anything. So really appreciate what you and your staff have done, and would ask that if anybody has questions, I know your office is always open and willing and,
Absolutely.
and helpful.
We are willing to take questions. We're willing to help employees understand this. I realize it is complicated, and the more I try to explain it, the more complex it becomes. But at the end of the day, like I said, the county has chosen to cover the vast majority of the employees' part on the public safety side, which is a great thing. So if employees have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself. I'll send that on to Brandon Chambers to answer.
Yeah. Thank you. With the fun rivalry that happens between fire and police, it's after the 60 Days In documentary ends, Sheriff Smith's going to start another reality TV show where they arm wrestle over getting the same amount of increase. Is that fair?
Probably win because they have nothing else to do but work.
Okay. Glad he wasn't at the microphone for that. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Ralph.
Okay, thank you.
And if HR needs to address anything the sheriff is dealing with, please get with him.
Hey, I'm just wondering if we get ad revenue from Mike's fame, because we could actually roll that ad revenue directly into his budget, and we could supplement the sheriff's budget then. So I would vote to supplement his budget with his fame ad revenue.
It's a great recommendation. Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, we held 3, 4, 5, and 6. If there's no further questions, I'd entertain a motion on those.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I follow up with that same motion to approve. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes. Okay. Let's see, item 9. Ezra, do you want to give us a rundown on this one?
Yes, I can do that. I believe Jake Andrag is here to speak to this, but this is a very exciting initiative that we have. We've identified some grant funds that we can apply for and help have this organization administer so that we can begin supporting some of our intergenerational poverty folks in our county and people who are struggling with that. And it's an additional service we could provide that would be fully funded from the state. And if Jake wants to come up to the mic and speak to that, or we have Melissa online as well, who can speak more to the details. But overall, very excited about the program.
Jake's at the mic, so let's yield to some time to him.
Please just call me Citizen Jake going forward. But no, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about what we're doing with this initiative. Kind of just as a brief synopsis for the public record. TANF money is federal dollars that is set aside specifically through DHHS for families that are low income, needy families, people that are in poverty and intergenerational poverty. One of the things that when I served as the chair of the Social Services Appropriations Subcommittee, we literally would have 50 to 100 nonprofits come up and say, well, we need funding for this or for that, and they're doing things like victim services, and for every thousands of individuals hacking at the branches, it's rare to find one who's hacking at the root of the problem. And over the last 8 to 9 years, Weber County actually had engaged and created what they called the Center of Excellence, which was a county-driven organization headed by Melissa Freegang, who is one of the panelists online now. And she was the executive director, and under her example, they were successful in the county leading to coordinate efforts between all the service providers within the area, like victim services, like food pantries, like homeless services, like, you name it, Girls and Boys Club. And coordinating there was like 30 to 40 of these to help individuals experiencing intergenerational poverty, homelessness, to access the services that they needed to be able to stabilize and then to move them into an education process to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty. So as the chair of social services, we sought to replicate this because there's a trickle-down effect of savings. When you can break the cycle of intergenerational poverty, you save tens to hundreds of millions of dollars across the state, of Medicaid dollars, of homeless services interventions, just everything that kind of comes as a result of people experiencing these situations in their lives. So we were trying to say, let's hack at the root and not the branches. So the problem we had is TANF dollars are very confined. Federal regulations say you have to use them, and here's the box. And if you're outside that box, forget about it. We would usually have, through the Appropriations Subcommittee, 50 or some odd requests come, and we'd usually fund like 1 or 2 because ultimately they couldn't qualify. Well, through the Center of Excellence and the ICANN system that they implemented to help coordinate these services in Weber County, over about a 4-year period of time, they were successful in moving over 250 families out of poverty, get them stabilized, get them off of social services, and get them to being productive members of society so that they weren't continuously drawing. And as up in the legislature, we were like, holy cow, how do we do this? So, and take it statewide. Well, we have this fund, this TANF fund, that is administered through Department of Workforce Services, and it adds $2 to $4 million a year to the fund. Even after we would fund 1 or 2 programs, it just grows. And once it gets to a certain point, Health and Human Services comes in and takes the money back, and it just doesn't get used. So based upon this ICANN model, former President Niederhauser and others in the social services were like, why don't we make these resources available across the state to each county level? So we pulled $10 million of this reserve fund and put it to this program. And we based it upon the population of each county. So Utah County is not competing for this $2 million grant that we will be getting. That will cover the next technically the next 2 years, because we've already lost almost a year here for this fiscal year. But this money then can be taken and used specifically to implement the ICANN model that will help for intergenerational poverty, to help coordinate all the services that happen throughout the county to make sure that people are truly getting stable and breaking that cycle, stabilizing them, getting them education, getting them the workforce development, everything that they need to do to be able to access those resources and move forward. We got, for the next 3 years, this year and the next 2 fiscal years, $10 million. That equates to $2 million for Utah County. It's a use it or lose it. If Utah County doesn't use it, it goes right back into the fund. So in essence, we said, hey, are you guys aware of this grant? We came to each of the commissioners and said, you know, we would like to see if we could implement this down here in Utah County and see if we can't help with our growing homeless issue and intergenerational poverty issue. And on encouragement, we, and based upon the contract I already have with the Utah County, we decided to submit this. We were in the final stages of approval through DWS. One of their requirements was a contract with the county so that we can have this fully implemented. And just to be clear, what Melissa Freegang and I will be doing as far as services over, we estimate in the next 12 to 18 months, is to help the county stand this up, to get it going. But the actual services and the actual coaching and coordination of those services will be happening by county employees that we will help you guys identify and hire and get a manager in place. These individuals, these FTEs, will be funded directly from this TANF money, and with the full knowledge that currently you only got a job for 2 years, unless we can show the type of outcomes that they experienced in Weber County. And the whole idea would be then in about a year to go back to the legislature and say, hey, give us another tranche of money and let's keep this going and let's still prove this concept out for another 3 years. So the idea would be that we use these federal resources as administered through DWS to the counties through the ICANN system and help Utah County meet these critical needs and help reduce the overall resources that are being implemented both at the state level and at the philanthropic level and the local level. The purpose of us coming and speaking to you today was to ask just one question on the liability coverage on this contract, but then to also make the public aware of what we're doing and how this isn't actually increasing any expenses to the county or from the county budget, but will be administered through the county's budgetary administration process. And with that, if with the permission of Commissioner Gordon or any of the other commissioners, I'd like to, if Melissa Freegang, if there's anything that you would like to add to what I've said, because you're the one that really launched this.
No, I just really appreciate being here, and thank you.
Okay.
See that, Jake? Okay. The greatest speech ever given, right? The Gettysburg Address by Lincoln, 2 minutes.
Short.
But then it was followed up by a 2-hour speech. So
Yep.
see, she took less time than you. I'm only
She
pointing
did.
that out.
I'm
Only because
so-
I can harass you. And
Now that I'm just citizen Jake, may I ask the question on the liability coverages?
please.
Okay. So in a previous life, before I got into public service, I was a PNC agent. And my father recently retired last year from the Buckner Company after 40 plus years. So I'm well steeped in property and casualty, cybersecurity, and professional liability coverage. I sold it for about 3 years right out of college. Typically, the standard coverage is a $1 million per occurrence and a $2 million aggregate. Sometimes they'll go up to a $2 million per occurrence and a $2 million aggregate. And that's actually what the state's insurance department has standardized as in statute as what the standard policy is. Certainly Utah County is welcome to do whatever you feel is most prudent, and going to a $3 million is more coverage for the county, which I totally understand. The problem with that is, number one, I'm wanting to know, is that meant to be as base coverage in the policy itself for loss mitigation, or can it be a combination of both base coverage and an umbrella to get us to the 3 million, even though you would be talking about separate policies, so you would have to exhaust one before you could utilize the second one, which is standard practice for umbrella coverage. But also just from a pragmatic standpoint, because I served in the legislature and we did a lot of loss mitigation. There is governmental immunity, which for county employees comes into play. And so what I said at the beginning, where Melissa and I are helping the county stand this program up, but the actual implementation are going to be done by county employees. I don't know that you're going to have the exposure under this contract that would warrant a $3 million. Now, I understand from an abundance of caution to look at it, and we're fine with the general liability coverage, the professional liability coverage, and the cybersecurity coverage. That's not a problem. I mean, that all makes perfect sense. It's just a matter of unnecessary costs. What I mean by that is, if I was an ambulance chasing attorney, like one of my previous legislative colleagues from the southern part of the county is, he's a good friend of mine, I love the guy. If I were him and I knew this process, the first thing I would do, because this is an open and public meeting and this contract is, they would go and look to see what the liability exposure is. And what would I sue at? I'd sue at that, versus the standardized coverage that the state has. Given the fact that implementation of this is largely going to be county employees that would fall under the Government Immunity Act, which is spelled out in this contract as well, I'm wondering, is there a waiver that could be obtained just so that we cut costs as much as possible and pass the actual dollars that we have through the grant to the individuals? But I get it. I'm trying to find out if we can kind of come in line with what's more standard out there.
I'm smiling because it's just, it's come up a lot lately. And I've held strong to holding it on the upper lines. The other two commissioners have been willing to lower it, even if we're shooting fish with a bow and arrow at Utah Lake. Anyway, so we've obviously gone at different ends with my former life, same as yours. I think to answer the question, you can get there with a $1 million umbrella, correct? And so, but understanding the cost and the exposure, I agree. I'd be curious to hear what the other two commissioners are thinking.
Well, considering that I was willing to lower the threshold for people fishing with bows and arrows, I think for a poverty mitigation grant, I'm going to be on board.
I have no idea what the bows and arrows thing is, but okay.
I know.
I'm open, actually. This conversation has evolved a little bit, and it's helped open up some ideas that I think may help the whole conversation. So I'm looking forward to continue this just a little bit longer.
So I think there's some urgency to get this approved today. And with that, I'm
going to make a motion to approve today.
I didn't understand the motion.
And your urgency, yeah, and your thoughts, Amelia, to go forward on this?
Yeah, I would say I would say let's approve with the lowered threshold and approve today so that we can get that application grant in.
Okay, I got that. I'll approve it with that in mind.
okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that passes.
I feel like we have to clarify that dollar amount though, because that didn't.
That it would be lowered to 1 million, 2 million, right? I understood it as 1 million, 2 million. Is that what you understood, Ben?
Yeah, I think that was.
That's what I understood when I made the motion.
Yeah, I've got again.
Yeah.
Is that what we did for similar ones earlier this year, not to single out any other events?
I think those, well.
We just basically took away, because the umbrella costs between $1,500 and $2,000. And in this case, I'm really struggling with the idea of what liability would be.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, that's fair.
On Jake's behalf, let alone.
Yeah, and I'm okay with
ours.
reducing it as well. I just wanted to make sure it was clear what we were reducing it to.
Yeah, I think, is that accurate, Amelia? 1 million, 2 million?
Yes.
Okay, terrific.
Great. Yeah, are there any other questions specific to the program or what we're proposing for this agreement today?
I don't have any. Commissioners?
None.
None, I'm good.
Yeah, okay. And part of that's just your legwork ahead of time. So thank you for meeting with us, you know, individually and always being willing to answer our questions and help us, you know,
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I will be reaching out to the commissioners to schedule kind of the ongoing return and report. We're working through Ezra. Ezra, as I understand, he's going to be our point man for getting approval on any of the subcontracting that we're going to be doing as part of this for standing it up and rolling it out. And then Commissioner Gordon, I believe you're the chair currently of this areas that is going to look at this. And so we'll be in contact with you to set up kind of our monthly and biweekly coordination. So
excellent. Thanks, Jake.
Appreciate
it. Thanks, Melissa. Appreciate you being online as well.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Moves us to the public comment portion of our meeting.
Commissioner, we have number 14.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, we have number 14.
Oh my gosh, Brandon Chambers came down.
One-time act-a-day resolution.
Brandon Chambers came down with a sign and everything. I apologize. Brandon?
All right, make sure I put it the right way. So, one kind act a day. Something that I was first made aware of roughly 2 months ago, and realizing that this is quite a significant theme, quite a significant project, quite a significant initiative here in the state of Utah. This is something that was brought about by the Semnani Foundation in 2021. Semnani Foundation does a lot of great charitable work throughout the state of Utah. And this is one of these acts, something that came about. And let me read. It says, it created this initiative because small acts of kindness, when done by many, can lead to tremendous change. At the heart of this vision is the idea that kindness has the power to change our lives and our world for the better. One Kind Act Today is intended to inspire and enable people everywhere to commit to one act of kindness every single day. Not only do both the giver and the recipient benefit from daily acts of selflessness, the spirit of generosity has a way of gaining momentum and spreading from one person to another. Call it a chain reaction of kindness. Our goal is to honor, recognize, and celebrate the inherent good in people and to cultivate one of the most important gifts of all, our faith in humanity and our belief in a better, kinder future for all people all over the world. And as part of One Kind Act Today, there is a manifesto that everybody that wants to participate in this should read. And I'll read it here in this meeting for us, because this is what Utah County we're proposing commits to this pledge. And the manifesto is kindness. It's a single smile, a thoughtful word, a small, unexpected gesture. Whatever the act may be, it's something we call kindness. Yet something in such a chaotic world, people forget the power that kindness holds. It can brighten a moment, lift someone's spirits, turn a bad day into a good story. Kindness can make someone's week or month or year. Kindness can restore faith in humanity, and some say it can even make us healthier, all with a simple, small, perhaps unseen or anonymous act. So think about this. What would happen if a small act of kindness sparked another small act of kindness, and then another, and another, and another? What if kindness became contagious? And all the small gestures done by many would make an impact felt around the nation, around the world. Imagine that power, and all it takes is just one kind act a day. So that is their manifesto. And I strongly support, Utah County's initiative to accept this pledge to be the first county in Utah to support this manifesto as a county for One Kind Act a Day. And we as a county, we want to put forth initiatives that this doesn't become something that's just, remember back last summer when they talked about One Kind Act Today, or it was One Kind Act Today month. We want this to be something that is lifelong here at Utah County. I will strongly support internally with our Utah County employees and how we treat each other, how we treat citizens that come for our services, but also there'll be initiatives reaching out to all citizens of Utah County for this. But now I believe our pledge is for Utah County to be the first county in Utah to commit to this pledge for One Kind Act a Day.
Awesome. Thank you. Commissioner Gardner, do you have anything to add?
No, the only thing I would add is just that I think this is such a great movement for our community, and launching it here within our employees, I think will be pivotal, but I would love our employees to be ambassadors for this movement in our community. We're going to be partnering not only with the One Kind Act Today folks, but we're also partnering with the Chamber of Commerce and with several of the cities, and local businesses are going to kind of bring into the effort as well. I'll take one of the yard signs and I'll stick it in my yard. And just this idea of like, it's the idea of like that a smile can be contagious, right? And I think if we can live that every day in what we do at work, that's fantastic and wonderful. But if we could spread that to the culture of our community, you know, we are known for having the highest citizen engagement and service in the country. Our zip codes are among the highest in the country for socioeconomic upward mobility. And so this is already inherent in something that we do, but this is just a way to kind of put a name to it and make sure that this movement continues, and that the things that make Utah County unique, we can shine at and we can spread and share with others.
The whole thing is very well said, very well written, and very well thought out. Thank you very much.
All right, terrific. I would only add to that, as this has been presented to us and Vineyard City has accepted it, adopted it, there's no financial impact. There are no tax dollars being used for this program. I just wanted to make sure everybody is well aware of that. If there's ever any criticism as to that, it's certainly not. There's no.
Yeah, and the yard signs and everything, those are all donated. Those are all donations. It's no tax dollars, like you said. These are just well-meaning people in the community that have donated so that we can kind of lead the charge.
Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 14.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate that. Okay.
Thank you, Brandon.
Now, when I jumped the gun the last time, is there anyone that would like to address the commission? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.